Alright, magandang araw po Pilipinas. Dako muna tayo sa Malacanang para po sa isang press briefing.
Magandang umaga, Malacanang Press Corps at welcome sa ating press briefing ngayon araw, May 23. May bagong programa ang Department of Social Welfare and Development kasunod ng pagkakalagda ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. sa Executive Order No. 27 o ang reorganization sa Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger. The program aims to alleviate hunger and poverty for families belonging to the lowest income bracket. And to give us more details on the food stamp program, we have DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian. Good morning, Secretary Gatchalian.
Good morning. Maraming salamat. And before I go into the details of the program, I'd like to put it in context in relation to the new executive order on hunger. Let me just read a prepared statement by the department. Magandang umaga. With the restructuring of the Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger, we are assured of a stronger and more efficient system and mechanism to mitigate hunger and poverty in the country. This is also part of our commitment to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and attaining the ambition natin 2040. In line with this development, I am proud to present to you the Department of Social Welfare and Development's new program that will provide food augmentation to food poor families, also known as Walang Gutom 2027, the food stamp program. The program is anchored with the Philippine Development Agenda 2023 to 2028 of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in addressing both hunger and poverty, and more particularly with alleviating the incidence of involuntary hunger among the Filipino families belonging to the lowest bracket income as identified and stated in the recent DSWD List Tahanan 3. The Walang Gutom 2027 aims to provide electronic benefit transfers that will be loaded with food credits amounting to 3,000 pesos to purchase a select list of food commodities from DSWD accredited local retailers. The Walang Gutom 2027 intends to target the bottom 1 million households from List Tahanan 3 who belong to the food poor criteria as defined by the Philippine Statistics Authority. We believe that this program will properly address the gaps and assist its beneficiaries in attaining the recommended food and energy consumption needed for each member to perform their daily tasks and routines that has direct and indirect contribution to human capitalization and a direct positive impact towards nation building. In other words, by meeting the daily food requirements of its target beneficiaries, the said program will sufficiently mitigate hunger due to extreme poverty. Lastly, the DSWD hopes that through Walang Gutom 2027, the country will be able to combat hunger and towards the realization of a zero hunger Philippines. Maraming salamat.
Okay. Open for questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're open for questions. Ivan Mayrina, GMA 7.
Sec, is this conditional?
Yes. Ivan, when I joined the DSWD, we said that we want to recalibrate every single thing that we do there to turn it developmental. To make it developmental, 4 things has to happen. 1, it should be targeted. It's not a shotgun that everybody, even yung hindi nangangailangan, makakatanggap. We target those that need it the most. 2, it should be conditional. 3, it should be measurable. And 4, there should be clear exit mechanisms so that it doesn't turn into one program on top of another program. In the case of the food stamps, ang plano natin dyan, like I said, it's targeted because we've already identified the 1 million food poor families. These are families that do not make beyond 8,000 pesos according to the PSA. 8,000 pesos monthly. So that's the target side of it. It's conditional. Similar to other food stamp programs, there will be a work component to it. Ang argumento kasi ngayon, di ba, pag gutom ang isang individual, hindi siya makaparticipate, hindi siya makatrabaho. Kulang yung caloric intake. So kung hindi siya makapagtrabaho, hindi siya produktibong mamamayan ng ating bansa. So ang gagawin natin dito, we will supplement the family's intake so that mawala yung feeling of hunger. Thereby, makahanap siya ng trabaho, and thereby they become part of the workforce of the country. Ang condition nga doon is, when you're signed up, you have to go to your nearest public employment office, get a certification that you are now being counted as part of the workforce. No matter what job it is. Alam naman natin, iba-ibang skill sets, iba-ibang angkop na trabaho. Pero ang importante, nagtatrabaho ka na.
Okay. Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN.
Sec, paano yung funding nito? Saan siya manggagaling? Because yesterday, the President said that the food stamp program is just still on the pipeline in partnership with the ADB.
Tama yun. It's a very good question. Let me just step one step backwards saan nanggaling to. Remember, the President's dream during the campaign was to end hunger. Ang pangarap niya, walang Pilipinong pamilya dapat natutulog ng gutom. That's why we made this bold statement, walang gutom 2027. We want it to be the President's legacy that right before he steps out of office, wala nang Pilipinong gutom. As he evolves the economy into higher yielding jobs, we have to make sure that we're making the right human capital investment so that they can partake of those jobs that's being generated. Kasi di ba, we don't want it to be a scenario wherein the President's evolving the economy, evolving the types of jobs that's being generated, pero 1 million Filipino families cannot partake of that fruit of that economic change. We want it to be inclusive. So, tama ka, it's still in the design stage because what's happening right now is we are working with the World Food Program, who has vast technical expertise when it comes to running food stamp programs worldwide. And then the ADB was kind enough to provide close to $3 million for the 6 months pilot that will run in the middle part of this year towards the latter part of this year. So this year, we're in the design and piloting stage. What does that mean? In every big, large-scale program, you don't want to launch it without studying it and going through the details. So they've identified 5 pilot sites coming from different geopolitical characteristics. Meron tayong in the Barm area, what used to be a former conflict area. 2, geographically isolated regions or provinces. 3, in urban poor settings. 4 and 4 will be calamity-driven, stricken areas. And the 5th will be rural poor. So we have to make sure that yung konteksto ng programa will be designed na naaangkop sa bawat lugar. Kasi what might work for one may not work for the other, but the general framework should be the same. Access to food, nutritious, delicious, and affordable food for every single Filipino family. So the remainder part of the 6 months, fully funded by grants from the ADB. That's why the President opened it yesterday in ADB, and we are thankful. The DSWD is very thankful to the technical support and grant support that the ADB has extended to us.
So with that, sir, could you walk us through the timeline, sir? Kailan ang start ng pilot testing and when do we expect it to launch nationwide?
Yeah. Well, first things first, we are in the design stage. As we speak right now, meron na tayong first draft ng design, and we will spend the remaining months of May and June in the design stage. We all know that the devil will be in the details, and we have hired multiple consultants in the department to take a second look at what's being designed para may check and balance. Noteworthy will be Professor Briones of PIDS, who is a known hunger and poverty expert. He has volunteered to jump on as a consultant of the department para whatever is being produced na design in those right shops will be given a second glance. I just don't have his first name. I call it Roel, I think, Roel Briones. Also, we are working with PSA's in-house poverty expert who is their USEC Dennis Mapa. He is helping us craft the concept there. So the remaining May and June, we will work with designing it. Now, July to December will be the pilot run for those regions that we've identified. We actually have the municipalities, but we just want to vet them properly. And then we have to also work with the economic team on trying to package the economic side of it or the financing side of it. So hopefully next year we get to do the run, the actual run. Early part, first quarter of next year. But we have to point out that we won't not also do it simultaneous 1 million. That's trouble waiting to happen. We have to do it in a progressive manner. we have to do the pilot at 3,000 families, 300,000 hopefully next year sa first run, another 300,000 right after, and then hopefully reach the magic number of 1 million on the succeeding year. But all throughout that program, we will continuously measure and we will keep on measuring the beneficiaries.
Okay. Maricel Halili, TV5.
Hi sir, magandang umaga po. Sir, paano natin masisiguro na sa pagkain lang magagastos yung 3,000?
It's a very excellent question, and I will now borrow the President's line. We use food as currency. Meaning, the digital cards kasi that will be given to them, let me just point out that this is also in tune with the President's drive na digitalization. Baka iniisip natin, these are like your manual food stamps na mano-mano. No more. We're working with the WFP on a digital platform wherein they get tap cards. Now, the tap cards will not be loaded with money, but they will be loaded with food equivalent. Meaning, we also work with the FNRI family in crafting the program, wherein I created multiple baskets to choose from. So, yung baskets are always composed of 50% carbs, 30% protein, 20% fats. So, mamimili ka lang within the food group. So, let's say you go to an accredited partner retailer. You get to choose lang from a selected list of food items in that food group. So kung carbs, it's either rice or whatever you may have. So hindi to tipong cash na ibibigay natin. We use food as currency. I'm sure somebody will ask that, who are the retailers? That's the exciting part for us. What we're doing right now is creating a whole ecosystem of farm to table. Remember, the President's drive was making sure that our farmers are taken care of. And that's why he set up yung mga kadiwa ng Pangulo. That's the farm to market part 1. The part 2 is we extend that ecosystem to market to table. So with 1 million Filipino families subscribed to it, we can also tap into our kadiwa ng mga Pangulo as outlets. 2, MSMEs, mga mom and pops groceries. And 3, obviously, because of their scale and their magnitude, mga big grocers. We've spoken to them, every single brand there is, and there's an appetite to participate in this program kasi we want it to become a movement. Ending hunger is not just the government's job. Ending hunger is everybody's job. It's not right that 1 million Filipino families are sleeping hungry and saying na bukas, I've lost all will to get out of poverty kasi chronic na yung poverty nila. Kung gutom ka ngayon, hindi ka makakapagtrabaho, bukas gutom ka na naman. And the cycle keeps on going around and around and around.
And sir, paano po natin malalaman kung sino sa kanila yung graduate na dun sa programa?
Okay, 2 things that we will use. That's the measuring part. Remember, SWS and other outfits always run that quarterly hunger index na lagi nating na-feature. The recent one, I believe, was it went down from 11 to 9%. You can fact check me on that. I just don't have the detailed figures in my head. We will obviously work with our survey firms to make sure that we're gauging the right things. On another point, in the design program, the 4-year life of the program is 4 years because listahanan, yung ginagamit namin para sa 4Ps na mga proxy means tests, are run actually every 4 years. So we can gauge, after 4 years, we can see if may progress sa kanilang, in fact, as early as 2 years, we can already gauge it. If they're moving along as we want, moving out of the food poor category, hopefully into the poor category. We always say that poverty is a long game. Hindi naman natin kaya, we want to end poverty pero hindi natin kayang sugpuin ang kahirapan overnight. Pero may mga low-lying fruits like ending hunger. We've asked so many people and it's doable. As early as 2 years, you can start gauging it according to literature. But 4 years is the graduation point because we can actually use our tools ng listahanan to gauge. May characteristics yun remember sa proximin test, what a poor person looks like, meaning yung tahanan niya, ganyan. We will use the same gauge as well as the other methods being used by other survey outfits out there or research outfits out there.
Sir, lasa lang. So, kapag sir nakasama na sila dito sa listahanan, hindi na sila pwedeng maging part ng ibang program?
No, quite the contrary. We will use the same base, yung listahanan. Binaliktad natin, we got the 0, pinakamahirap, and looked for 1 million of them. Yung per capita nila is pinakailalim paakyat till 1 million is hit. And then, this will sound very technical, but this is the amount of effort we put into it. Working with PSA, merong food insecurity experiential survey, FIES ang tawag nila, FIES. Food Insecurity Experience Survey, if I'm not mistaken. There are characteristics also to what a hungry person technically looks like. So if i-filter natin yon, so we'll draw out the per capita na pinakamahirap from the bottom 1 million, and then isasala pa natin ulit dun sa filter that the FIES, that the PSA gladly gave us, para makita natin kung talagang yung person na na-target natin ay mahirap. Now, there will be overlaps. Kasi remember, 4Ps is not your anti-hunger program. 4Ps was designed to keep our children in school at an early age. At ang conditionality niya is the the health side of it, to make sure that our children get the right barangay intervention sa barangay health centers nila. But it is not a hunger mitigation program. So this is actually complementary to it. There will be overlaps, pero hindi necessarily lahat sila the same. Because ang matatamaan dito malamang will be the poorest of the poor ng 4Ps, pero may mga mahihirap na wala sa 4Ps kasi they did not meet the condition. Wala silang anak, so and so forth.
Okay. Nestor Corrales, Philippine Daily Inquirer.
Good morning, Secretary. Secretary, how will the DSWD make sure that this food stamp program is sustainable? Where will the agency get the funds after the ADB grant for the pilot run?
Yan, that's why we said it's in the design stage. The devil will always be in the details. We will get back to you. Number one, we are due to meet the finance managers of the government to explain the program to them. But off the bat, there seems to, and I cannot gauge it with absolute certainty kasi I belong to a different cluster in the cabinet. But ADB is very excited. They said it yesterday. They are very excited to work with us on this beyond the grant stage. And there's also appetite from our other development partners like World Bank. Diba? We've been working with them, the DSWD. They are also excited. They want to put in their inputs there. But more importantly, recently we met the UN resident coordinator, si Gustavo Gonzalez. And he said nga, there are other windows. We don't have to fund this solely by ourselves. There are multilateral windows out there that the United Nations can help us tap into so that the burden of carrying the program is not solely the responsibility of the Philippines. You have to remember, SDG 2, ending hunger, is a universality. The United Nations has been championing this. The President shares the same vision. So this is going to be a collaborative approach, multilateral in nature, not just solely by our own funds, but by the greater international community who wants to help us end hunger in the Philippines.
Okay. Alexis Romero, Philippine Star.
Secretary, so how do we ensure that we prevent leakages, especially sa list of beneficiaries, and ensure that only those intended beneficiaries will get those food stamps?
That's why we're really spending a lot of time in the design and pilot stage. That's why itong remainder of the year, which is from now till December, we'll have to pilot and look at where potential leakages are. Siyempre sa design, sa papel, everything theoretically will look nice, but when you implement it, that's the time you catch the leakages. Leakages like what if they sell the food that they get? Yan yung mga bagay na that will be on the lookout for. That's why the design in the pilot stage is very crucial even for WFP. When they launched the same program in other countries like Mongolia, Indonesia, Vietnam, their programs were very successful. We also don't have to change the wheel, as the President told us. There are working models out there that we can copy, tweak a little so that we can adapt it to the terrain of the Philippines. But the design stage, again, is why we need to put time and effort. Hindi yung biglang nilaunch na lang. That's why we're spending so much months designing it and then piloting it.
So how much is the total funding requirement for the food stamp program?
Initially, we are looking at the first 11 billion for the 300,000. You can do the math. I just don't have the figures. But the total global, when it's running already, that should probably harp into 40 billion to include the administrative cost. But those are raw numbers. Please don't quote us on that. Kasi when we do the design and we do the pilot stage, may disclaimer ako lagi di ba? No, but that's the estimate of the department. That's the estimate. You can quote me on that. That's the estimate of the department. But when you run it in the design stage, you can see saan pa pwedeng mag-trim left and right. Because there will be economies of scale that we will try to exploit. Di ba? Remember, the kadiwa ng Pangulo is actually eliminating traders. So there are actually opportunities to be made there to cut costs. So the 40 billion is our rough estimate, the department's estimate. 11 billion, then 40 billion at its full scale. But when we actually finish the design stage, then we'll know the peso and detailed peso and centavo.
Okay. Alvin Baltazar, PBS.
Secretary, magandang tanghali po. Secretary, kahapon parang medyo nabigla si Pangulo na parang wala pa pala tayong food stamp program dito sa Pilipinas. At sinasabi niya, effective yung food stamp program sa ibang bansa. Ano bang bansa yung mga nagpapatupad na ng food stamp program na sabi niya effective naman at magiging effective din ba dito sa atin?
Marami. Actually, US is the prime example. They have the SNAP program. Indonesia, most Latin American countries have it. In fact, in one of the Latin American countries that slips my mind, of all their social welfare programs, ito yung pinaka-popular. If I'm not mistaken, it's Venezuela. But Vietnam has their own program. Mongolia has their own program. Varying scale lang. But there's one commonality that I want to point out. It's really meant to protect the most vulnerable. You get all these shocks in prices that's beyond our control. But with such programs, kasi you will be able to insulate them, making sure that the most vulnerable gets the protection that they need. I just want to also talk about the features of the program. Yung digital side of it is something that's new. So maaring wala sa ibang bansa yun, kanila manual. So atin, it's going to be a rev-up version, staying in line with the President's directive of digitalizing, making social welfare easier. Tawag na namin doon, ease of social welfare.
Okay. Oh, Pia, are you on this issue? Another issue.
Ay, sir.
Okay, Jonel Maribotok.
Ay, sir. Ano na po ang ginagawang preparasyon ng DSWD sa banta ngayon na paparating na malakas na bagay, sir?
Well, actually, pabalik ako ng department because we're supposed to meet our beat reporters there about the preparation. Pero since mga same outfit nyo rin yun, so saves us the trouble of doing it. Early on, we have pre-positioned goods naman everywhere in the country. We have worked with Pagasa on the modeling that it seems at this point, kasi it's very early, it's going to affect Regions 2, Regions 1, all the way to Batanes. But again, sabi nga nila, the path can change, but malaki siya eh. So what we've done is we've augmented the stockpiling of food packs up north. Right now, ang average kasi nila will be at around 30 to 50,000 in those two regions independently of each other. Naka-pre-position na yon. But we're doubling it up. The goal there is to double it before the end of business tomorrow. We've already started mobilizing as early as this weekend. So the food packs will be there. And then our field officers are now tasked to work with the local government units to see to it that the local government units in those areas that may be affected know that the logistical support of the DSWD is around. Kasi alam naman natin na the first line of defense will be the LGUs, but DSWD has the mandate for response.
Sir, do we have enough budget para...
We do. The Quick Response Fund of the national government will kick in naman. Remember, in the Quick Response Fund natin, part niyan is preparedness, making sure that handa tayo even before the storms come in. Sa DSWD, we have a full department doing disaster response. It's not a one-shot deal na pag may bagyo lang dumadating. All year long, they do these type of stockpiling activities, identifying. When I was signed up, we were talking about hub and spoke. We're trying to expand our warehouse system. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're utilizing now. The warehouse system ng LGUs or ng national government or ng mga national government agencies. Pinupuno natin yun all year round kasi hindi lang naman storm ang binabantayan natin. May mga iba pang sakuna na maaring dumating. In a regular day, hindi lang siguro napipick up ng media, na we respond to small-scale calamities, man-made or natural, fires, mga skirmishes, conflicts. So we do those, pero day in and day out, that's part of our mandate.
Okay, Kathy Valente, Manila Times.
Yes, good afternoon, Secretary. Sir, the DSW has issued po a cease and order desist against an orphanage sa Quezon City for alleged violation of law against child abuse, exploitation, and discrimination. May we get details po, ilan batang affected?
Yeah.
Is this an isolated case or may other orphanages pa tayong tinitignan?
Okay. Glad you asked that. Isa pa yan sa mga, baka pagdating ko doon, sabihin nila, hindi na nila ako kakausapin ng mga beat reporters kasi ng DSWD kasi sinagot ko na ng sinagot dito. And I promised them, una pa naman sila. Anyways, we are referring to the account of Gentle Hands Incorporated in Quezon City. Yes, we did issue a cease and desist order on the following grounds. Number one, as early as last Friday, I personally got complaints on the living situation inside the orphanage. There are 149 children inside. I personally went to inspect and see it firsthand kasi nothing beats me looking at it. Diba? Mahirap yung to rely on reports lang, written reports. So on a Saturday, I brought our team in the Standards Bureau together with our resident social workers to do our spot check. Remember, mandate ng DSWD na since we're regulating these social welfare development agencies, whether they're care facilities, responsibilidad rin namin to always monitor them. And spot checks, as long as may registered social worker, is allowed. So I went with our social workers Saturday afternoon at around 5 p.m. I myself saw the following things. One, the upkeep was not your most ideal. Nakakalat yung basura. Two, ventilation was an issue. Kasi ang nangyari dito, they overcapacitated the orphanage. It's a privately run orphanage. 80 lang ang rating niya, but they were running at 149 or 150 plus. 149 actually to be exact. So there, right there and there, maling-mali na yun eh. And the worst part of it all is we saw the fire exits and they were sealed or may mga grills. And that was not acceptable to us. That's a walking fire trap. So those are the three things. And one of the things that struck me, so it's overpopulated kasi they're running it beyond their allowed occupancy. Two, there are fire safety concerns. Three, the hygiene or the living standards are not to the standards of the department. And then four, more peculiarly, sa akin to, and this is what I saw, when I walked in kasi, there was a security guard, our social workers introduced themselves. We are social workers, kasi di ba sa spot check rules, dapat may social worker na kasama. I surely am not one. So, but you are deputized na sumama with the social worker. The guard initially said, hindi pwede. Kasi wala raw doon yung mga house parent, wala doon yung mga persons of authority, wala doon yung mga social workers nila, which is a no-no in such facility. Dapat at any given time, at alam to ni Daphne because she was a UNICEF champion, there should always be a social worker or a house parent inside. Now you're running an overpopulated facility nang walang social worker on hand. Meron sila pero wala on site. At the same time, yung house parent, wala rin doon. And all they had were, if I'm not mistaken, kaya ayaw ko papasukin, they only had 5 kasambahays who could barely answer. But you were running 149. So, it's a recipe for disaster. What if an accident happens and the fire exits are sealed? Diba? Right there and there, mali na nga kasi the ratio of adult supervision or professional supervision to the population, lagpas-lagpas na eh. But what struck me as something peculiar was, nasa door ako and ayaw ako papasukin. So, the social workers had to explain to the guard and to the kasambahays kung sino kami. A unsupervised white Caucasian male just walked out of the facility. So, ang point ko, if it's unsupervised, kasi ang reason bakit daw bago ako pumasok, kasi wala raw doon yung mga house parent, wala doon yung mga guardians, wala doon lahat. Eh bakit merong adult male, Caucasian, just walking freely unsupervised? How do I know it's unsupervised? Kasi that's the same reason to me eh. So we finally got in, they escorted us in, and true enough, wala yung mga house parent, wala yung mga social worker. Then later on, dumating yung resident psychologist nila, child psychologist nila, then we engaged them. Ask questions, so and so forth. But sa akin, more than anything, the cease and desist order is anchored on our parent of the nation doctrine. We are supposed to take care and protect those that cannot protect themselves, especially children. So that's why we move for cease and desist, but giving them 20 days to answer our findings and also to fix whatever they need to fix. But in the interim, we have to protect the children. Now, as we speak right now, our social workers are on site to make sure that we work with the children, that they are properly handled, di ba? Siyempre, you just don't pull out. Our social workers know the protocol. So bottom line dito is, we are exercising our power to protect, to stand as parents of the nation, in this case, the parents of the children, because the child's welfare, well-being is the primordial driver of our social protection mandate. Ang importante sa amin is maprotektahan yung mga bata.
Okay, one last question. Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN.
So sir, pag hindi po naayos itong mga issues na to, anong plano natin dun sa mga bata?
Well, there are protocols in the department. The kids will now be moved to our care facilities. Even in the 20 days, you cannot keep them there. Because nga may mga imminent danger findings na kami. Kasi tinatanong daw sa amin, ba't ang bilis? Precisely, dapat mabilis. Because there's imminent danger. And we have to make sure that children are protected. Hindi na kami mag-aantay na may masaktan pa bago kami gagalaw. These are regular programs that we did. When I took the helm of the department, we had to evaluate every single program, not just our social protection program. We had to evaluate our development programs. We had to evaluate everything. Siyempre, bago ako eh. So I want to take stock of what we have. And it so happened that this is one of those na nakita namin na issues that we have to address. So mas magandang tanong is, ano mangyayari dun sa institution if they don't get to correct the issues? Then we have to go through the accreditation and the licensing issues. But for now, the main goal is to protect the children.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much, Secretary Rex Gatchalian, and thank you, Malacanang Press Corps. Have a good afternoon. Thank you. Oh, that's pretty heavy. So are you doing that? It's precautionary. Like, are you doing it with other?
Yan po ang press briefing dyan po sa Malacanang na pinangunahan ni DSWD Secretary Gatchalian. Samantala, magandang umaga. Pilipinas, May 23, 2023. Ngayon po ay Tuesday. Malagang issue sa bayan ang ating pong pag-uusapan. Ngayong araw kasama ang ilang mga eksperto at mga kinatawan ng mga piling ahensya ng pamahalaan. Ako pa rin po inyong likod, Aljo Bendio, at ito public briefing, #LagingHandaPH. Nakikipag-ugnayan na ang PSA, Philippine Statistics Authority, sa Philippine Postal Corporation. Higil yan sa Philippine Identification Cards na naapektuhan sa sunog sa Manila Central Post Office. Ay kay PSA Undersecretary at National Statistician Dennis Mapa. Inaalab na nila kung ilang national IDs ang naapektuhan. Paglilinaw naman ng PSA, hindi kasama sa mga nasunog ang mga national ID na i-deliver na ng PhilPost dahil nasa PhilPost Central Mail Exchange Center sa Pasay City ang mga ito. Ang mga ID naman na naapektuhan sa sunog ay papalitan ng PSA. Kaninang alas 6:33 ng umaga, dineklarang fire out ang sunog sa Manila Central Post Office. Tiniyak naman ng lokal na pamahalaan ng Maynila na i-restore, ibabalik po ang mga nasunog na gusali sa lalong madaling panahon. Gagamitin pa yan. Nilinaw din ni Mayor Honey Lacuna Pangan na walang ibang gusali itatayo sa naturang lugar. So, pinakauling update tayo sa naganap na sunog kahapon sa Manila Central Post Office. Makakausap natin ngayon si Ginoong Luis Carlos, Postmaster General and CEO ng PhilPost. Magandang araw po, sir.
Ay, magandang araw, Aljon. Magandang umaga sa inyo lahat.
Opo, Sir Luis, this is Aljo Bendijo ng PTV. Yes. Opo. Idineklara ng fire out ng Bureau of Fire Protection ang sunog dyan po sa Manila Post Office kaninang alas 6:33 ng umaga. Ano po ang iniulat na assessment sa inyo mula po sa Bureau of Fire Protection?
I'm not pretty sure if that let's say, that 6:30 this morning, no? I know kasi may usok pa at saka may baga pa yung mga ibang kahoy na mga lumang kahoy, yung mga titigas na kahoy. But anyway, ang huling sa akin ng PFP is that they have pinpointed already where the source of that fire is. So it's on the other side of the building, which is on the southern side. Nandito sa near the Jones Bridge area. Yan ang southern side ng building na yan, sa likod. So that's the one that, yun lang. But with regards to the final report, with regards to how the fire got started, John, wala pa siyang formal report. I'm waiting for that Bureau of Fire na protection report.
Okay. May ulat na ba tayo kung nasa magkano na po ang halaga sa kabuang halaga ng pinsala na dulot ng sunog?
As of the moment, they mentioned something like 300 to 500
million.
Pero it's very hard to pick that number kasi on the ground right now, the GSIS people are here already. And the appraising company is already also here. So thanks to the president of GSIS, nandito na po sila. So we will get that formal information when they get out that report.
Opo. Sa inyo pong estimate, tansya, gaano katagal matetrace ng field post kung ano at ilan ang naapektuang sulat, no, o parcel matapos ang sunog?
Right now, ang nakuha namin is yung PLC's ID.
Opo. Sir? Sir Luis? Nawala. O sige. Balikan natin ang field post. Importante pong pag-usapan ito at hingi tayo ng karagdagan pang mga pinakahuling balita sa nangyaring sunog. Nakakalungkot dahil makasaysayan po ang edipisyong yan dito po sa Maynila. Pati na po ang mga nasunog na mga dokumento. Marami pa mga balita at talakayan sa pagbabalikan ng public briefing. #Laging Handa PH.
Kaya natin to. Kaya natin to.
Bago ako magmahal ng iba, mamahalin ko muna ang sarili ko. Mag-iipon muna ako ng pag-ibig. Pag-ibig Regular Savings. Earn 25 times more sa contributions mo. Ang contributions mo, ipon mo. Mas malaking contribution, mas malaking ipon. I'm worth it. I deserve pag-ibig.
Kaya natin to. Kaya natin to.
Alright, nagbabalik po ang public briefing, Laging Handa. At kasama pa rin natin si Ginoong Luis Carlos, Postmaster General and CEO ng PhilPost. Sir Luis?
Yes, sorry, naputol po tayo.
Opo, walang problema. Gaano po katagal matatrace natin, sir? Kung ano-ano at ilan ang naapektuang sulat, mga dokumento, mga importanteng dokumento matapos ng sunog?
Yes, yung mga... Hello?
Opo, go ahead.
Yes, yung mga sulat na we're looking at, that number, I still don't have those data.
Opo.
But the PLC's ID, I have that data already. It will be sent over to PSA as of this time. And we're working on it, and when PSA tweets that, ibabalik ko sa amin doon, and then the letter carriers which are ready already for delivery by tomorrow morning, ay gagawin na po yun.
Paano po ang magiging operasyon ng PhilPost matapos ang sunog? Paano kayo nakikipag-ugnayan sa mga letter carrier at maging sa PSA para naman sa national ID?
What do you mean, paano po? Sorry.
Ano po, paano po ang operasyon ninyo ngayon dyan? Matapos ang sunog, sa inyong pakikipag-ugnayan sa PSA at sa pagpapadala pa ng mga ilan pa mga dokumento o mga sulat dyan po sa nasunog.
Opo, yung Manila Post Office po has been transferred already to the Foreign Surface Mail Distribution Center in Delpan. Nakalipat na po yung buong grupo doon, all the letter carriers in the Manila Post Office is already there. At yun na po ang doon na po sila mag-operate from Harden. So ang operation side naman, corporate and the ones who are doing the business mail service is already in the airport road. Doon po, kung tawagin namin ho yun ay Central Mail Exchange Center.
Napag-usapan na ba kung ano ang planong gawin sa Manila Central Office? May ilang mambabatas kasi ang nagnanais na i-restore ang MCPO, Manila Central Post Office, dahil ito nga ay isang national treasure.
Wala pa po. As of the moment, initially, if I get that question right, we're asking we're planning an engineer, no? That would handle if the building is, what do you call this, still, maayos pa po yung structure niya. No? So, a structural engineer is needed to do that. And then from there, kung ano po yung itsura ng building na yan, how it is, we will come up with that one. That's the first thing we have to do.
May pondo ba tayo para sa pag-restore? Sa pagre-restore ng Manila Central Post Office?
Your question is kasi
may pera, may panukala sa Senado na through a law, ihahanap sila ng paraan na makahanap ng pondo para po i-restore nasunog na post office. Ito pong Manila Central Post Office. Pero kayo dyan po sa MCPO, wala ba tayong pondo dyan na magagamit din, no? Para madagdag o kaya kayo na lang ang magre-restore mula po sa inyong pondo para po maibalik sa dati ang Manila Central Post Office?
The Philippine Postal Corporation is an office of it's a government-owned and controlled corporation. But it doesn't get any national funding from the national government. We are on our own. Whatever we do in operation is the one that we spend for personal services or from our MOO. So yun po, what we only get from them is a subsidy coming from the franking privileges. But in terms of the national treasury, wala po kaming nakukuha.
May tanong mula sa Inquirer News Desk. Kumusta ang itong philatelic, tama ba to? Philatelic section at Stamp Museum sa Central Post Office. Ito ba'y naisalba ang collection natin ng old and rare Philippine and foreign stamps?
Well, definitely, to be honest, the stamps have been burned down.
Okay.
The library of the stamps have nawala po siya. Talaga po siya, natama po siya dun sa sunog on that library and that museum po.
Nice ding imbestigahan ni Senador Robin Padilla nangyaring sunog. Ano po inyong masasabi?
Sorry, ano ho yung question? I can't hear it properly.
Nais ding paimbestigahan ng Senado through the effort of Senator Robin Padilla. Ang nangyaring sunog. Ano po inyong masasabi?
I think it's welcome, no? Para to clear the air out. I don't see any reason why an investigation cannot be done. Para malaman po natin din ang katotohanan. I think that's welcome. Kung investigation po ang issue with regards to that.
Alright, mensahe o paalala na lang po sa ating mga kababayan.
Yung sa yung vital public service po na kailangan namin i-responsibilidad po namin, we will start working on it. As of the moment, half of the operations coming from the Manila Central Post Office is already intact. Maybe by tomorrow, the whole of Manila Post Office is already operating po in full already. So kung ano po yung mga sa publiko, kung ano po yung kailangan namin yan, no? There are other post offices in Manila, including Ermita, including in Tondo. All of those post offices are acceptance post offices that can be used po by the public.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, PhilPost Postmaster General and CEO Luis Carlos. Ingat po.
Thank you po, John.
Ilang kababayan naman sa Davao City nakatanggap ng gift packs at iba pang serbisyo mula sa CIDG Field Unit 11. Ang detalye sa ulat ni Julius Pakot ng PTV Davao.
168 na mga kababaihan ang nabigyan ng iba't ibang serbisyo ng Criminal Investigation and Detection Group Regional Field Unit 11. Ang nasabing mga kababaihan ay mga residente ng Barangay 76-A Davao City na isa sa malalaking barangay ng lungsod. Isinalalim sila sa lecture ng kapulisan ang mga partisipante kaugnay ng gender awareness and equality, pati na rin sa implementasyon ng Republic Act No. 7877, Republic Act No. 9262, Republic Act No. 11313 at Republic Act No. 9710. Nakatanggap din sila ng libreng kit, massage liniment oil, liquid dishwashing, eco bag, folded pan, alcohol spray, food packs at gift certificate. Ang nasabing aktibidad ay isang post-Mother's Day celebration ng CIDG 11. Ito ay bilang pagkilala sa mga ina ng nasabing barangay sa kanilang kontribusyon sa pag-unlad ng nasabing komunidad. Mula dito sa PTV Davao, Julius Pakot para sa Bayan.
Paano kalatasan ng speed limit sa mga expressway at ipag-usapan? Kasama si Ginoong Julius Corpus, ang tagapagsalita ng Toll Regulatory Board. Magandang umaga po, sir. Sir Julius?
Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Sir Aljo?
Yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning. Opo.
Hi, good morning, Sir Aljo.
Yes, sir.
Finally, nakausap ko ang aking idol.
Salamat po. Idol din. Opo, magandang tanghali na pala. Ano po ang posisyon, Sir Julius, ng Toll Regulatory Board tungkol naman sa paano kalatasan ang speed limit sa mga expressway ng bansa?
Sir Aljo, nais po nating ipabatid sa ating mga tagapakinig sa inyong programa na ang Toll Regulatory Board ay nakikipag-ugnayan ng mabuti dito sa ating Committee on Transportation tungkol dito sa paano lang itaas ang mga speed limits natin, kasama na ang mga expressway. Katunayan po, yung unang hearing dito na nandun po ang ating mga staff, mga officers po natin, upang ipakita sa kanila ang ating full cooperation on the deliberations for this proposed bill na itaas yung ating speed limit. Nais po natin sana sigurong ipaalam sa ating mga motorista ang gumagamit ng expressway na ang mga speed limit po ng ating mga expressways are generally compliant dito sa mga requirements ng DPWH sa mga criteria nila for design and guidelines nila, which also takes into account mga international standards and practices. This gives primordial importance sa safety ng ating mga motorista. Kaya siguro po mapapansin ninyo, iba-iba ang mga speed limits ng ating mga expressways sapagkat yan po ay tinitignan mabuti muna ng ating mga technical people ng DPWH, ng ating tanggapan, kung ano talaga ang nararapat na speed. Bagamat gusto nating mabigyan ng mabilis na paglalakbay ang ating motorista sa ating mga expressway, ay kailangan din naman po nating bigyan ng malaking pagpapahalaga ang kanilang kaligtasan sa paggamit ng ating mga expressways din.
Ligtas ba para sa ating mga motorista paano kalataasan ng speed limit?
Sir Aljo, kami naman po'y bukas sa mga question o tingnan muli ang ating kondisyon ng ating mga expressway. Kung may mga portions dyan na pwede pa nating taasan ang speed limit o kailangan bang manatili na lamang ang mga speed limit na sa ngayon ay pinatutupad natin sa ating mga expressway. Ang kagandahan po ng panukalang ito, meron po itong provision na nakasaad kung saan ang Department of Transportation may set the safe speed limit in certain sections of the expressway, particularly yung mga narrow and winding portions, upon the recommendation po ng aming tanggapan ng Toll Regulatory Board at kasama na rin dyan ang ating mga toll operators. Kaya nga po kami buong pagsisikap na makapagbigay ng ating mga observations and comments during the deliberation of this bill at nang maisama po ang ating mga inputs dyan. Nang sa ganon ay mabigyan natin ng bagamat mabilis, subalit dapat ligtas na paglalakbay ang ating mga motorista.
Kung pagbabasehan ang kalidad ng mga truck at mga pampaserong bus, anong sa tingin ninyo ang epekto at safety measures nito sakaling may sa batas ito pong speed limit increase?
Sa ngayon kasi Sir Aljo, if you remember or maybe mapapansin ninyo, ang mga trucks at buses natin may speed limit tayong sinet ngayon sa mga expressways, mga 60 to 80 lamang. Yan po may mga basihan tayo kung bakit yan ang sinet na speed limit natin. Kaya kung tataasan po natin yan, titignan po natin kung anong sections ang expressway natin na pwedeng medyo siguro i-adjust lang konti. Subalit yan po kailangan masusi muna nating pag-aralan.
Isa sa mga nagdudulot po ng traffic sa expressway ay ang mga toll gates dahil sa mabagal na pag-register ng kanilang mga RFID sa mga sensors. Sir Julius, di ba nito maapektuhan ang speed limit increase? Dapat bang ayusin muna natin yung mga scanners natin, yung mga RFID scanners?
Sa ngayon kasi Sir Aljo, karaniwan po nung mga naging problema tungkol sa mga RFID natin ay nabigyan na natin ng solusyon. May mga panaka-naka pa rin sigurong mga hitches na nangyayari. Subalit yung pong mga interventions na ipinatutupad natin yan ay agaran naman pong naisa sa ayos yung mga problema dito sa ating mga plaza. Hindi naman po namin nakikita yung speed limit will be an issue tungkol sa paggamit ng RFID. Ang nakikita po natin ito yung paglampas na nila o paglabas o pagpasok na nila ng ating mga toll plaza. Yung speed limit na yan ay magiging malaking bagay sa kanilang paglalakbay sa ating expressway. Kaya siguro mapansin ninyo sa mga elevated sections natin, Sir Aljo, ay mas mababa ang speed limit po natin dyan. In fact, yung iba dyan, 60 lamang, 60 kph lang. Ang kadahilanan po niyan ay gusto po nating masiguro ang kaligtasan ng ating mga motoristang gumagamit ng mga kalsadang yan.
Marami pong mga expressway ang hindi patag at may mga lubak-lubak, no? May mga lubak o mga sira. Opo. Sakali pong ito'y may sa batas. Hindi po kaya ang mga kalye natin sa mga kaya ba ito sa ating mga kalye? Sa mga expressway?
Sir Aljo, tama po kayo, no? Kaya nga po may mga portions po na lalo na pagkatapos ng matinding pagulan ay nagkakaroon ng mga potholes o mga lubak na nangyayari.
Po.
At may mga expressways po natin na kung saan na kailangan pong i-rehabilitate na yung pavement mismo. Yan po ang ating ginagawa ngayon, Sir Aljo. Ang ating pong tanggapan ay tuloy-tuloy po ang pag-audit ng ating mga tauhan. Kung saan kailangan ng gampanan ng ating mga toll operators ang pagkukumpuni nitong mga mga potholes na to at saka mga lubak-lubak na o hindi na nararapat na pavement na nandyan. Kaya kailangan gawin ng ating mga toll operators right away.
Hingi na rin kami ng update, sir, sa toll interoperability phase 2. Any update?
Sir, also yun po ongoing ngayon. At nasa phase 1 and 2 are already operational, kung saan nababasa ng EC3 or AutoSweep to any of the two expressways. Subalit nagme-maintain pa sila ng dalawang wallet. Ang ating third phase ay yan ang ating inaano na isang sticker na lang at isang wallet na lang. Patuloy po at ang ating pakikipag-ugnayan sa lahat ng mga stakeholders, na kasama po ang mga toll operators, mga pamanahan sa ating mga ahensya ng pamanahan na may involved po dyan. At inaasahan po namin na sana sa darating na panahon ay magiging isa na lamang ang sticker na magagamit at isang wallet na lamang para sa lahat ng expressways.
Bakit sa ibang mga toll gates natin may mga barriers pa at yung iba naman ay wala na? Opo. Tulad ng dyan sa Valenzuela, sir?
Yes, sir. May mga kanya-kanya pong mga unique situation kasi ang ating mga toll plaza entry and exit, Sir Aljo. Kagaya dito sa binabanggit yung sa Valenzuela, may naka-install na po tayong mga plate recognition system dyan, kung saan kahit wala yung barrier, ay makikita sa plate recognition system itong mga motoristang gumagamit dyan sa ating mga entry and exit points na yan. So, kasama po yan sa mga improvements na ginagawa ng ating mga toll operators. At darating ang araw, makakaabot din po tayo siguro dun sa puntong magiging barrierless na ang mga expressways natin.
Opo. Okay. Mensahe na lang po sa ating mga motorista, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Sir Aljo, maraming salamat po sa pagkakataon.
Opo.
At sa ating po mga motoristang gumagamit ng expressway, hangad po namin mabigyan kayo ng isang mabilis, komportable, subalit ligtas na paglalakbay sa ating mga expressway. Ito pong panukalang batas na ating pinag-usapan ngayon, kami po ay we fully cooperate sa deliberations nitong panukalang batas na to. At hanggang naman natin na mabigyan kayong mabilis na paglalakbay, subalit hindi naman po natin pwedeng pabayaan ang inyong kaligtasan sa inyong paglalakbay. At dito naman po sa mga RFID users natin, wag niyo po sanang kalimutan na tingnan niyo rin ang balanse ng inyong mga RFID para bago kayo pumasok sa ating mga expressways ay may sapat na load kayo upang hindi kayo maabala sa expressways natin. Doon naman sa mga wala pa hong RFID, ay patuloy po ang pagkikayat namin sa inyo na mag-switch na po kayo sa RFID. At makikita nyo naman po na halos napakakunti ng tila sa mga RFID toll plaza natin, toll booth, kumpara dito sa mga nagbabayad ng cash. Sana po ay maging ligtas kayo at magkaroon kayo ng isang ligtas, mabilis at komportableng paglalakbay sa ating mga expressway.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Sir Julius Corpus ng Toll Regulatory Board.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Aljo, sa lahat po ng kasamahan natin sa PTV4. Mabuhay po kayo.
Daghang salamat po sa atong mga partner agency para sa ilahang suporta sa atong programa o ang kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas o ang KBP. At dito po nagtatapos ang ating programa sa araw nito. Hangtod ugma hanggang bukas. Ako po yung likod Aljo Bendiot. Itong public briefing, #laging handa PH.
Kaya natin to.